Hey, welcome back to the show. A U.S. citizen was just shot by ICE in Minneapolis while they were conducting some enforcement operations. And I think everybody in America knew that it was only a matter of time until this happened. Take a look.
Woman in Minneapolis is dead after an ICE-involved shooting. These are live pictures from Minneapolis. There are videos, as we speak, going around social media showing what happened earlier today between protesters and ICE. We're working on bringing you those videos. You can see one of them on your screen as we speak. Basically, here's what it describes. It shows agents in a truck pulling up to a car that appears to be blocking the road. The two agents get out. They walk up to the driver's side of the car. From there, things escalate quickly. One agent touches the car, and the driver starts driving backwards with the agent's hand still on the car. The driver then hits the gas while another agent appears to be standing in front of the vehicle. That agent, more in front of the car, appears to open fire as the car barrels towards him.
Now, the first question that I ask myself when I see this video is why? Why are you impeding law enforcement operations that are going to be carried out anyway? I don't understand why people think that protesting is going to slow down the progress. If anything, all they do is intensify operations when things like this happen. What was this woman thinking blocking ICE from conducting their operations? What did she think she was going to get out of it? And right after this incident, there was violence and chaos in the streets. And I'll tell you right now, that is exactly what Tim Walz and Mayor Fry want. And the reason they want that violence is because it helps them advance their narrative and it gives them a call to action against ICE. Take a look.
Get back! Right in the face! Get back! All that video!
Ladies and gentlemen, what have we become as a society here in America? It seems like Americans are protesting law and order and they're aiming for lawlessness in our streets. And if you look at all these videos, it feels like people feel entitled to put their hands on law enforcement officers. And even beyond that, attack them. What do you see being thrown at the law enforcement officers as they're walking away? Who's to say that somebody's not going to put a rock in there, cover it with snow, and injure one of these officers? Why? What is the purpose of attacking them? The only thing that's going to do is escalate the situation. I hate the fact that people feel that they're protected just because they're U.S. citizens and they're protesting ICE operations. Being a U.S. citizen does not protect you from breaking the law. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how some of these ICE agents have so much patience. Just take a look. Those people standing there in the middle of the road, arms locked, being pepper sprayed are idiots. I've been pepper sprayed before. Let me tell you, it's not fun. I have no idea what they're thinking when they do things like that. And what is that idiot thinking standing in front of the car? Who does he think he is? Superman? Does he really think that he's going to stop that vehicle from moving? I'm telling you, I just don't understand what it is that people are thinking protesting violently the way they are here. Why can't they do it like they do it here in Florida? On the sidewalk, away from the law enforcement officers. Now let's listen to what Secretary Noem had to say about the officer who shot.
The very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June. He sustained injuries at that time as well.
So if you're wondering why this ICE agent had an itchy trigger finger, that's why. He had previously been rammed and drugged by a car driven by protesters. So do you think he was antsy? So I'm going to play the clip for you guys one more time so that you can see it in slow motion. You tell me what you see. But what I see is a law enforcement agent thinking that he's going to be run over. And I'll tell you what law is going to be used to justify this shooting here in a second. But take a look at the slow motion video.
The officers were trying to get her out of the car. She ignored their order and slammed the gas pedal. And obviously, another agent saw this and reacted. and shot her.
Now, once again, what I saw was an ICE agent whose life was in danger. The vehicle was used as a weapon. But let's listen to what Mayor Fry and what he saw in the video.
Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed.
I think the mayor is absolutely right. This was a reckless action that resulted in somebody being killed. A reckless action by that woman. Why would you put yourself in that position? Why would you block federal enforcement officers from conducting their operation? But let's listen to the police commissioner who's going to tell us what he saw in the video.
The preliminary information that we have indicates that this woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot, and the vehicle began to drive off. At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway.
So the police commissioner is saying that the vehicle blocked the road, a law enforcement officer approached the vehicle, it began to drive away, 2 shots were fired. I think he's missing a very important part in his statement, the fact that she was trying to run him over. How do you forget that part? I've heard numerous press conferences from this police commissioner. He is incompetent. If the officers would have been there assisting with the operations, none of this would have happened. So let me get back to the point that I made about justifying the officer's actions here. Now, what you hear a lot is people saying, well, you cannot shoot at a suspect when they're running away if they're not a danger to somebody in the future. The law says that you can't do that. Yes, that is correct. However, that's not what happened here in this case. Let me remind everybody that Minnesota statute 609.066 states an officer may use deadly force when it is objectively reasonable and necessary to protect the officer or others from death or great bodily harm. Now, let's remove death from there. Do you think that if you're run over by a car, you're going to sustain great bodily injury? My answer to that is yes. So he was within his right to use deadly force. Now, it's not just the politicians in Minnesota that are speaking out against this operation. It's also the lawmakers in D.C. Take a look.
What we saw today was a criminal murder a woman and shoot her in the head while she was trying to escape and flee for her life.
Sadly, this was not unexpected, but it is egregious. It was an outright murder.
Masked officers murdered a woman in her car.
So what AOC saw was a criminal murder and shoot a woman in the head that was trying to flee for her life. Is that what she was doing? Or was she blocking law enforcement operations? But the jackassery from Tim Walz doesn't stop there. He is now saying that he is going to activate the National Guard in order to counter ICE. Take a look.
To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight.
So I would love to hear what it is that Tim Walz expects the National Guard to do to counter ICE. What are they going to do? They can't arrest them. The most they can do is provide security so that ICE can conduct their operations. What does he think is going to happen? The National Guard are just going to go in and stop ICE from doing their jobs? If that's the case, then they're going to go to jail too. And talk about placing Americans against Americans. That only adds to the hypocrisy of the Democrats. Tim Walz is talking about taking our service members, military service members, and putting them up against our federal law enforcement officers. So before I wrap up this story, I want to play you one more clip of Hakeem Jeffries and his take on this whole thing. And the only reason I'm playing this clip from the Dollar Store Obama is because I want to point out 2 things. Take a look.
Killing of Renee Nicole Good was an abomination, a disgrace. And blood is clearly on the hands of those individuals within the administration who've been pushing an extreme policy that has nothing to do with immigration enforcement connected to removing violent felons from this country. We support the removal of violent felons from this country who are here illegally. But that's not what this administration has been doing under the so-called leadership of Kristi Noem, who's a stone cold liar. There's no evidence at all that this was a justified shooting. So let's deal with the tragedy right now. She hasn't even been buried. Her family is grieving. She was a single mom and an American citizen.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to cling on to is the fact that she was a single mom. What is a single mom doing out there protesting like that? If you have a kid at home, if you have a child at home, why are you putting yourself in that position? Best case scenario, you go to jail, separated from your kid. Worst case scenario, you get killed. Exactly what happened here. If you really care about your child, why would you put yourself in that position? Because if it were me and I see that happening in the streets, I would drive the other way. Because the first thing that I think about is my child, especially if I'm a single parent. She was not thinking about that. And now that child is an orphan just because she didn't think before she acted. And the second point that I want to make is, who cares that she's a U.S. citizen? So if I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm immune from being arrested after I break the law? And I think that's what's happening. Americans that are protesting ICE think that they're immune from being detained or being arrested. And they love when it happens because what is the news headline? Americans being detained by ICE. But what they forget to tell you is that they're impeding law enforcement operations. I think we as a society need to get smarter about what we do in life. Why are we protesting these things? And this is my last point on this whole thing and on ICE. We all know that this started out as they're going to get the worst of the worst. They're going to get the worst criminals. They're going to get them out of here. And remember the numbers. If 10 million people came in here and about 6% of them are criminals, that's 600,000 people that are criminals in this country right now. But let's be honest about what's happening now. They're not just going after the worst of the worst. They're going after everybody that's supposed to be out of the country. So if you have an order of removal or you're not supposed to be in this country for any other reason, they're coming after you. I don't know why people continue to ignorantly say, well, they said that they're only going after the worst of the worst. We already know that they're beyond that. So why do people keep saying that? Do I feel bad when I see people deported that don't have criminal records? Absolutely. I feel terrible. Breaks my heart. But I think we're at the point where we all know exactly what the Trump administration is doing. And we need to avoid these types of confrontations because the only thing that they do is make things worse. So let's get smarter about it. All right, that's the end of the show. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay balanced.